Good morning, everybody. It is officially the month of Elul. And Elul is the month where we prepare ourselves for Rosh Hashanah. We can't just walk in cold to the experience of Rosh Hashanah and think that we're going to have a powerful, transformative experience. We have to start now doing the work to prepare ourselves. There's a great story I like to tell every year. It's a parable. It was a king, and the king had a son. And the son did something that required the king to send his son away into exile, no longer part of the kingdom. And the son was living out in the fields, and it was very cold, and there were people there who knew how to build huts to keep warm and to protect themselves from the elements. But the son of the king, he had no experience at all with building a hut. He didn't know how to protect himself, and he was very, very uncomfortable and vulnerable. And then he heard that the king was going to be passing by, and that there's a tradition in the kingdom that anyone who wants anything from the king can write a little note and throw it into the carriage. And if it lands in the king's carriage, he opens it up and he reads it. He will grant the wish of that individual. So the son was so excited. Here's his big chance to finally reach out to his father and to communicate once again and to share with his father how hard it is for him to be so far away. So he writes a note. And the king passes by and he throws the note and it lands in the carriage. And the king opens it up and he sees that it's a letter from his son. He recognizes the handwriting and he's so excited because the king says, yes, he's going to ask to come home. He's going to ask to come back to the palace. And the king opens the note and he starts to read it, and it says, my dear father, please send me a hut so I can live under protection. And the king was devastated. Here was a moment for his son to ask for anything. Please take me back. Let me return. Bring me back into the family, to the palace. And he asked him to help him build a hut. Rosh Hashanah is the same thing. Rosh Hashanah is the opportunity for us to become anybody we want to become. We have to make sure we're asking for the right things. I want to share with you a very, very powerful teaching from Rabbi Abraham Isaac HaKohen Cook. He was the first chief rabbi of pre-state Palestine. And he's talking about the process of tshuva, the process of return, the process of spiritual rehabilitation, sometimes translated as repentance, but it's really not a very good word or accurate word. And he says something, I'm going to read it to you here. He says that the beginning of tshuva reshit, the beginning, the essence of what tshuva is, that will illuminate the pathway for everything else, is sheyashuv ha'adam el atzmo el shorish nishmato, that a person returns to himself, to the root of his soul. What does that mean? And then he says everything else happens automatically. The rest of the tshuva process, the rest of the rehabilitation and the return and the repentance happens automatically. All we have to do is to return to ourselves, to the root of our neshama. And I think what he means by this is that every single one of us has what's called a shorish haneshama, the root of our soul, which is our deepest essence. It's who we really are. It's who we really yearn to be. But you know what happens in life? Things get complicated, things get busy. We move ahead with our plans and our dreams, but then life just takes over and responsibilities take over, and we lose touch with who we are, what my deepest essence is. Rabbi Cook is telling us that if we want to do tshuva, if we want to begin the process of return, ultimate return back to the greatness and grandeur of who we can be as individuals and as a people, we have to start by looking back and asking ourselves, who am I? Who am I? What is my essence? What is the root of my neshama? And in order to do this, I compiled a list of questions, simple questions that we can ask ourselves leading up to Rosh Hashanah. We have 30 days now to work on this, and another 10 days before Yom Kippur. Questions that we can ask ourselves that can help us to clarify and identify for ourselves, what is the root of my neshama? What is me? Who am I in my deepest essence? I'll give you an example of some of the questions that I put together here. For example, I have questions here like, who do you admire the most and why? What is your biggest fear that keeps you up at night? What did you want to be when you were a child, and why did you change that over time? What are 3 words that your friends would use to describe you? When was the last time you cried and why? I have a beautiful list here. Anybody who wants the list, send me a message, send me a WhatsApp, and I'll email you the list, or I'll WhatsApp you the list. And we can begin working on this now, during these holy days leading up to Elul, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, where we can be ready to stand before our Maker on Rosh Hashanah, stand before our Father and say, not, can you build me a hut, but bring me back home. Let me become the person that that you created me to be in my deepest essence. Okay, so now is the time to start working on that, and we can hopefully, please God, be successful and have the most inspiring, awesome high holidays possible. Wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom from Yerushalayim.